Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, joined on the show by Harrison Fagan. What's your title again at Fox?
Associate Director of Pro Basketball.
There you go. Associate Director of Pro Basketball at Vox or SB Nation?
SB Nation. I don't know if they let me put Vox on the business cards. You know, it's like
I think that's
they're like that's going to lead to some confusion. We don't like you're over in your NBA corner over there.
Yeah, that's definitely how Vox felt about SB Nation based on my experiences. But anyway, let's go ahead and dive on in. And man, I'm so bummed right now, Harrison. Like right before we went live, Rory just completely Draymond a 4-foot putt to win the Masters. And by Draymond,
I mean watching Gilmore Girls reruns or
yeah, I can't. I honestly, Harrison, can't believe you and your family aren't into golf at all.
Like just it's actually I'm white and bald. You assume I'm into golf?
Yes, exactly.
And I grew up in Orange County. I mean, fair.
Like let's keep on going.
I really did buck the odds there. You know, not being into golf. There's still time, I guess.
I mean, you have a bad back, so I guess that might explain it because you probably literally could not swing a golf club without breaking everything in your body. But
no, I can. It will just lead to a lot of pain later. So I don't. I can mini golf. I'm still pretty good at mini golf.
Mini golf is fun. I like taking the kids to mini golf. Yeah, I'm sorry everybody for the brief delay. I was literally holding off thinking, all right, Rory has a 4-footer, 5-footer, whatever it was for the win. I'm just going to watch him sink this putt and then move on and enjoy the rest of the show. But no, now it's going to a playoff and I'm going to be looking off this direction every so often because, here we are.
Let's start the show about the Lakers finding out their first round playoff opponent by you being mad that you have to half watch golf while you're recording the rest of the episode. See, nobody's this honest. Like most other podcasts you're going to hear, they're going to be like, so we've been crunching the numbers. We're locked in. Anthony's like, I got another game up entirely off to the right. I am I'm just letting you all know, I'm going to be paying attention to that. This one's on Harrison.
You got this, man. So the Lakers found out today. Well, I guess we should start with the fact that the Lakers lost to the Portland Trailblazers 109-81. And that means that the Lakers finished their season 50-32. The Portland Trailblazers finished their season 36-46. One funny thing to come out of this game, Harrison, had nothing to do with the game itself. But over the course of the day was watching some members of Blazers Twitter come to the realization that Rui Hachimura is in fact better at basketball than Jeremy Grant. And they were like, and if you were to like rewind the year, if you were to jump back in time and the argument that Portland was trying to make was it's going to cost Rui, Vando, and 2 second or first round picks unprotected for Jeremy Grant. Would you, Harrison, trade Rui Hachimura? Let's just make this not CBA legal. No. Would you trade Rui Hachimura for Jeremy Grant in 2 first-round picks?
I mean, if you're getting 2 firsts from Portland, I think you kind of I mean, now you're making me think about it,
Well, that's the thing though,
Portland
right?
Would not go the other direction. Yeah, no. I do it. Yeah, I do it. I think you have to take the 2 first-round picks.
So Rui, Vando for Grant in 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
I don't know if I do it. What are the? I mean, I unless you have a use for the first round
again,
picks
you got to think about what the Lakers could use those 2 first-round picks for.
Yeah.
Like that's the Jokic package for them. So we're you're just replenishing the cupboard.
I like that. It's like Doctor Strange's. Like there's only one path.
Yeah.
So like you'd have to snap Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt for Jeremy Grant and that would allow you to get.
I like Vando. This brings me no joy, but Vando with the Portland medical staff, not a recipe where I imagine he's going to be playing a ton of games.
No. Good for the Blazers to lock themselves into mediocrity with Joe Cronin and Jeremy Grant, or Chauncey Billups.
I mean, Anthony, I think anytime you win less than half of your games, you got to make sure that you extend the brain trust that made that possible.
That's probably true. I mean, I don't see how this backfires at all, honestly. Other than that, I don't have anything from the game. Markieff Morris scored the Lakers' first 6 points. Dalton Connect finished with 27 points on 9 of 21 shooting. That was fun to watch. He caught fire a little bit there. Bronny got the start, played 38 minutes, and was mostly forgettable. The Blazers have a ton of guys who are really good athletic wings, and also Jeremy Grant, and they all and they just kept bothering all of the Lakers guards with ball pressure, and it eventually turned into nobody really wanted to bring the ball up the court, and the Lakers offense kind of stalled out. Turns out that's an important part of the offense.
I will say from today's game, it gave me a lot of pause about the playoffs. Like, I think that if Bronny and Alex Len and Markieff Morris have to play that much, the Lakers might be in trouble.
That's probably true. I think that's it. That's it.
I'm not again. We'll get into what I think. Yeah, I don't like their chances against the Wolves. I'm going to be real with you. Like, I don't think that the Bronny, Alex Len, Markieff Morris trio is getting it done in that matchup if they decided they wanted to like bench LeBron and Luka for a game.
If I really wanted to troll, I guess I could go find Bronny's season-long plus minus in his net rating on the season. But I wouldn't do that. I would not do that. No, I was mostly watching the Masters while this Lakers Blazers game was on, and then when it looked like Clippers Warriors was going to decide who the Lakers were playing, I ignored the Lakers game altogether to watch Warriors Clippers. It was a phenomenal game.
Pretty awesome game down the stretch. That was all I didn't watch the first like 3.5 quarters, but I tuned in once I saw the same thing that you did, and I watched the end of it in overtime, and yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was.
I highly recommend over the Lakers game.
Yeah, I would probably say so.
But you get like whiplash flipping over to that one. It's like, oh my god, NBA basketball.
Open shot for your life. Draymond Green or Jeremy Grant? Who would you rather take the shot?
Draymond, because at least he's won things.
He's at least available. Is that stat? I don't know if it was Sentinel, but there was a stat where Jeremy Grant hasn't played a game in April in like 4 years.
I believe that is true. I think the last time he played a game in April was pre-bubble.
Insane.
I saw something like that. Or it might be like
back when he was like in OKC.
No, never mind. Yeah, I think it was like the year after the bubble was the last time he played a game in April.
That's an unbelievable stat. But the
Clippers, like, I know it's been several years. I do know that part of it is accurate.
The Clippers overcame some I'll call dubious foul calls down the stretch of that game. You had Brandon Podziemski land on a rebound and then just decide to fall over, and they gave him the ball out of bounds because apparently somebody from the Clippers pushed him, and then they tried to call an and one on for Jimmy Butler that he kind of flailed on, and they actually reviewed that one and overturned it, and the Clippers were able to hold on, and they were able to win in overtime, which means the bracket breaks down as follows. Let's see if I can do this correctly. So we get that there, and I will turn off that.
I will say one thing about the play-in, not having the bracket right away does sort of like suck.
Yeah. I mean,
the play-in games are worth it because they're high-stakes basketball, but it does like sort of detract from today a little bit.
I'm gonna be honest though. I'd be perfectly fine without the 9-10 game here. Like the NBA should just be allowed to say, you know what, Warriors, Grizzlies, go ahead and move on.
Yeah,
we don't
the
need to
NBA
see
is
the
gonna
Mavs again. We don't need to see Sacramento again. We're good.
the NBA is gonna say, you know what? I don't think we want another nationally televised game for revenue and ratings.
Do you think anybody is going to watch? It's going to set the Kings Mavericks game is going to set records for. It's going to bring down the average, like the average viewership on all these games.
Anthony, look at the East 9-10 game.
Ooh,
I'm just saying,
Bulls Heat.
I don't know that it's bringing down the average.
Well, that's at least a rivalry.
Actually, and then you got Hawks Magic, which they're going to put on NBA TV for the play-in for some reason.
It's going to be on Zubo or whatever it is. It's going to be on Fubi.
No free ads. I like it. Just keep saying the name wrong. Make them pay you to get their name right.
It's going to be on Temu.
They're like, wait, why is the Hawks Magic game on Clipper Vision?
So that's the bracket as it looks like. And we'll get to this a little bit later in the show, but I think the bracket breaks down pretty well for the Lakers here.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll get to why here in a bit, but let's start though. Let's break down the all right, I'm gonna do this, and then it makes me do that, and then I do that. All right. So the the Lakers and Wolves series is a fun one. There are strengths to the Wolves that make me a little nervous. There are strengths to the Lakers that I think have the Wolves and their fans absolutely terrified. Without troll, well, no, let's start by trolling. If you want to troll, you can troll. But I think that the Lakers wind up winning this one. I'm not going to go so far as to say comfortably, but the more that I kind of think about it, I think the Lakers handled this one pretty well.
Lakers in 5.
5.
Yeah.
Wow. Actually?
Yeah, no, I'm actually feeling pretty good about this. I mean, it might be 6. I just didn't. I feel like every time I pick 6, like I feel like a coward. It's like just pick the team that you think is actually going to win, and if it goes 6, then
yeah. Like
this isn't the LeBron and AD teams where you're factoring in the math of you're positive that they will not win 2 playoff games in a row because they're going to be too tired.
That was such an insane thing that they had to do.
Yeah,
they had an actual script that they had to follow. Yeah. And the moment that they got off script,
we know they're going to lose game 1 because LeBron's going to take it as a feel out game. And then game 2, they're going to destroy the opponent. But then game 3, they're going to be tired. So they're going to lose that one.
Yeah. No, I think I'm mostly with you, honestly. Yeah. Luka against the Wolves has been a fun one for teams or fans of Luka's. Anthony Edwards does make me nervous, really, really nervous. He is an absolute playoff performer. They also have a ton of wing depth, and good physical defenders, and they can switch defensively, and that makes me nervous. But Mike Conley is kind of sort of washed, and he's the 3-level point guard who tends to give the Lakers problems, but he's not that player anymore. So that changes things a little bit too in the Lakers' favor. Julius Randle is one of the worst playoff performers of his generation.
It sounds like you may know this stat that I had saved up, but do you know who has the lowest field goal percentage since the 70s among players to take more than 15 shots a game in the playoffs?
I love that you had this lined up. And I love that I said it already, but go ahead. Is it Randall?
Yeah, it's Randall.
Unreal.
You want to guess what he is shooting in his career or over his career in the playoffs?
From the field?
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you how long it's been? Give you a sense of how long it's been. The number 2 is Michael Ray Richardson, who played in the 70s.
Eesh. Is he shooting what, like 39% from the field?
Lower. 34.4.
He's a forward.
34.4% from the field in the playoffs.
What?
Yeah.
Julius.
over
No
15
wonder the
playoff
Knicks
games.
couldn't wait to get rid of you.
Yeah.
Man, that's insane.
And I for one, I know that's unfair to judge him for his Knicks failures and those situations. I think his scoring is going to get more efficient next to Rudy Gobert in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, and then Luka can basically just choose between the two of them who he wants to pick on. Because neither of them are going
I
to be
will
very
say,
good.
if we're going to make the case, I mean, I'm not going to make the case for the Wolves seriously and say that I actually think that they're going to win this series. But if you're going to make the case for them, fourth best net rating in the league, they have top 10 offense, top 10 defense. Like they have been good both over the course of the season, and those positions basically hold over the last 15 games. And so they've been good both recently, for the most part, outside of that ridiculous collapse the other night.
Yeah.
But they've been mostly good throughout the season, and I understand why people would be a little bit worried about them. Lakers were 2-2 against them in the season series, but they won the only matchup with Luka. Rudy Gobert sat that one out though, so it's like, again, it's NBA regular season where no context that is translatable to the playoffs happens, and it's why it feels like a different sport. But yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons to be optimistic about this matchup.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about them for a little while. I mean, their size makes me, if they can just completely turn the possession battle on its head by creating a ton of offensive rebounds, that's something that the Lakers will really struggle with. And again, if their switching makes the Lakers turn the ball over, I think that's kind of the recipe for disaster for the Lakers, is if they, get turned over a bunch and can't get defensive rebounds to be able to get out in transition to score against the Wolves, because their defense has been good this year. They're a big physical team. They're long. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is one of the better perimeter defenders in the sport. Anthony Edwards actually really gets after it by NBA superstar.
Yeah.
By that grading scale. Oh my God, Rory with a huge monster shot. Wow. That's more like it. Come on, Rory. I like Justin Rose too. It's kind of a bummer Rose has to lose here, but Rory's going for his grand slam.
I just think so. There's a couple of reasons I feel good about the Lakers in this matchup. And number one of them is, Luka versus Rudy Gobert in a playoff series. Like, Luka's just not going to lose that one. I'm sorry. Like, I know that this is like a vibes thing. This is like, just eye test, whatever. But it's like, does it feel to you like that is a possible outcome over the course of their entire careers? Is Luka losing to Rudy Gobert?
No. Also, on top of that, if you want to talk about the vibes going into the series, we should also maybe mention the vibes going into the season, where the Wolves and the Wolves fans were like livid at the Wolves organization for trading Cat before the season. And the whole reason they traded Cat is because they're concerned about luxury taxes and hard caps down the road. And this is coming off of the best season that the Wolves have ever really had. I mean, almost literally. And
if it wasn't, it was top 3.
2, I think, right?
Yeah.
Were the Wolves ever
the KG
in the Western
MVP
Conference Finals?
is probably the only other one.
Were they ever in the conference finals with KG?
Yeah, against the Lakers in 2005.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
or 2004.
I would say that was probably the only one that competes with last year.
Yeah.
And their response to last season was, all right, we got to start getting nervous about checks that we have to write down the road. And I'm a big believer in the basketball gods, Harrison. And that is not the kind of thing that you want to do, to try to appease the basketball gods. Is coming off of one of the best seasons in your franchise's history, start worrying about cost cutting and stuff like that. Now, it is. Wait, that was Glenn Taylor, right? Who did that?
So it was the current front office, but Glenn Taylor was like still the in power governor at the time, and A-Rod and his rich friend had been like banned from the premises.
Yeah. So technically, it wasn't who will be the Wolves ownership moving forward. So I don't necessarily know how to do that math.
Yeah.
but that was still a move that was made. And Warriors fans just have not really wrapped their arms around this team, even when they were playing good basketball. What'd I say?
You said Warriors.
Well, I don't think Warriors fans have wrapped their arms
Warriors
around
fans
this
probably
team
also have not. I mean, I guess we can ask. We can ask Warriors fans, how do you feel about this year's Wolves team?
Should we just? I kind of feel like I'm bouncing around the elephant in the room. Are you happy that you're not playing the Warriors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, given the way they played today, less happy than I would have been before. But I think it is a more problematic matchup for the Lakers than this Wolves team.
Yeah. They're
And
different.
also,
They're
again,
very,
like
very
I said this on the
teams.
show where we were talking about like what teams do we quote unquote want to play or which opponents do we want. It's like I just don't want to have to watch my team try to guard Steph for however many playoff games. Like that's just like that's taking months to years off my life. And so it's just this is going to be again like so much like just like bully ball, less stress type stuff.
So I know that normally this like the natural segue here would be to talk about, all right, here we already looked at the bracket. We feel pretty good about the series. Here's the team that you might be facing on the other side of the series, yada, yada, yada. But I actually want to do things slightly out of order here, almost Tarantino style. And I actually want to go back to the beginning of the season. And I want to review this season in its entirety, because I think it's really easy to lose sight of season-long expectations and expectations in the moment and all of that context. And I think in this case, like, the Lakers finished 50-32. They improve on their win total. It was a significantly more pleasant season, even if it was only better by 3 games mathematically. You trade D'Angelo Russell over the course of the year. You trade Anthony Davis and Max Christie for Luka eventually. And you arrive here in this place where I think you have a pretty good opportunity in front of you. But how are you going to remember this season, Harrison?
I think, I mean, obviously the Luka trade is going to be, I think, what all of us end up remembering it for almost no matter, like, unless the Lakers win the title, this is going to be remembered as the Luka trade year. And probably even then it's going to be remembered. It's because, especially if you win the title the first year, that Luka trade paid off, I'd say, and so it's obviously going to be for that. But I was trying to think right now back to the beginning of the season and how we felt about this team, and like just remembering things that happened over the course of the last calendar year. Over the course of the last calendar year, the Lakers had the Danny Hurley dalliance. The Lakers had that was within the last year. They ended up well, now the basketball gods are going to punish them. So, so they had that go on. They hired JJ Redick, and we all made our podcaster jokes, but then it turns out he's a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
And they had D'Angelo Russell on this team. I know you mentioned it before, but it's like, remember at the beginning of the year, we were talking about like, I think the Lakers might need to stagger, D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves to really get the most, like, sort of, we were having real debates over if the Lakers would have enough playmaking post D'Angelo Russell trade. Like we were ready, we were breaking pool cues in half, ready to stab each other over that question.
The D'Angelo Russell thing. Remember how it was like they could score 135 points, but then they would also give up 140 regularly. They just like had no idea how to get stops because they were at such an athletic deficiency. By the way, Rory just won. He made his putt. So way to go, Rory.
Speaking of other things that happened this year, Anthony Davis went on TV and told the Lakers, "Get me a center," and they said, "Sure," in Dallas. That happened this year. AD was on the team and demanded that they go get a center. He had his big, the people are like, "Oh man, AD flexing his player empowerment muscles," and then they traded him a week later.
They also leaked that was part of the reason that they did it.
Do you think Luka's mad at AD? Like a little bit?
No.
It's like, come on, dude. I just bought a house. Like,
yeah. No, I think it's at the end of the day, you're talking about like he hates Nico so much and hates Jason Kidd so
There's
much.
like there's
that,
a possible like multiverse universe here where Jeannie Buss shuts down the Luca trade because she's like, well, like AD is champion, like he deserves our best. He's been a good soldier throughout all this. We can't just trade him without like sort of talking to him or running by him. And then he goes on TV and he's like, Shams, these broke people need to get me
yeah,
a center. And she's like, never mind, ship him out.
yeah.
When does this play
It's
into the New York
non-zero. I
League?
think the chances of that are non-zero. That for
Yeah.
sure. I mean,
The way that
the
she
Lakers
talked
did
about it, she
say,
clearly was mad about it.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I think this season is going to be a fascinating one to look back on because
Like
it
we did for Mark
obviously
Williams this year. Dalton Connect was a Hornet for multiple days.
for a
That was
few
a thing
days
that happened over the course of this season.
Cam Reddish was a Hornet for a little bit.
Yep. Now he's a full-time dad.
But yeah, I think if I was like to if I was asked, hey, summarize this season without just leaning on the Luka trade.
Yeah.
To me, I think the most important thing to come out of the season is I actually like the Lakers culture. I actually think that they have some culture. JJ Redick seems to really care about that and is and follows through with
exactly. Every coach says they care about culture. He seems to have actually implemented one.
Like I will never forget Harrison because I the Lakers were all like walking off of the court and it was like, okay, they're gonna pull their starters and Luka's done for the night. And I even tweeted like, all right, it looks like Luka's done for the night. Here's his line. What an incredible game for Luka. No, JJ Redick had the wherewithal, the understanding of the moment to be like, no, Luka, you go back out there, commit a foul, and salute the fans. Enjoy your moment. You played your ass off. You earned this moment for yourself.
Yeah, you get your own standing ovation.
Yeah. And I think that's the kind, and then the way that JJ talked about it after the game also, that was a moment where I was like, look, he obviously has a little ways to go as far as like X's and O's and challenges and some timeout stuff. And like, there's still, I think, room to grow as a basketball coach, but as a leader of man or a leader of men and somebody,
there's only one guy he's leading.
Well,
just Luka, in
that game.
And then the rest of them follow him.
But yeah, like it was that moment was something that I'll always kind of remember fondly. And I think that's kind of the moment that perfectly sums up the season, right? You have Luka heavily involved in the moment. It's a game against Anthony Davis and it's a game against Max Christie's new team. The Lakers, LeBron played extremely well in the second half and helped the Lakers win that game. But at the end of the day, Luka was the one who kind of took him home for most of it and then earned that moment with Mavericks fans in this like seminal moment, this emotional cluster bleep that really could have gone any number of ways over the course of the game. And the Lakers handled that really well. And after handling it really well, JJ Redick has the understanding of the moment, the emotional understanding to say, hold up, no, go out there and enjoy this. You earn this. And the way that Luka enjoyed that moment and the way that the Lakers collectively were there for Luka in that moment, that's the kind of thing that, foundations are built on. Foundations of trust are built on. Luka, I don't think will ever forget how JJ handled that moment and how his teammates were there in that moment and how this organization has been there for him after the betrayal that he suffered at the hands of the Mavericks. All of this stuff is going to matter moving forward.
I think the other thing too is it's not just the culture thing, it's how much of himself JJ clearly pours into the game planning and stuff that the players seem to respect. It's basically like it's like every single game they're talking about, well, the coaches gave us a game plan, they basically predicted the future for us and told us exactly what was going to happen, and we were ready for it. And again, like sort of almost circle, I don't know if you're ready to sort of circle back to the Wolves series now, or if you had more Lakers memories, but like circling back to the Wolves series, I think that is a key part of the reason why I have so much faith in them in this matchup.
Yep.
Is that, what are the teams that JJ has drawn up pretty devious game plans for this year? It's the ones that are really, really reliant on one star. And, he has sort of found different ways to put them in hell. And I'm just going to read you a quote from Anthony Edwards at the beginning of this season. Edwards said he wasn't interested in playing in a playing style that required him to pass out of double teams. Quote, that's a good brand of basketball, but it's not how I want to play, of course. I'm only 23. I don't want to just be passing the ball all night, but the way they're guarding me, I think I have to. I wonder what JJ is going to try and get him to do over the course of the series and the way that he's going to try and make him beat the Lakers.
Well, did you see, what was it?
You think he's going to try to force the ball out of his hands, maybe?
Well, did you see what happened when he did pass the ball and how it went for the Nuggets when went for the Wolves when the Nuggets sent a hard double at him and he rotated the ball over to Julius Randle, who took a step back 3-pointer? It's like, that's the thing with this Wolves team is Anthony Edwards is really their only engine. And
famously, the most successful teams in the playoffs are the ones that have one main offensive threat.
Yeah, and I would be a lot more nervous about this matchup if Mike Conley he didn't have a fork sticking out of his thigh.
Yeah,
I just it's so easy, I think, for teams to zero in on Anthony Edwards. And like you mentioned earlier, Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle's shooting concerns really allow the Lakers to do that. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I believe, also. Oh, and McDaniels took a huge step back as an offensive threat this year for Minnesota. And yeah, defensively, I think the Lakers personnel actually lends itself pretty well to what the Wolves are going to be trying to do. Now, again, you can do everything that it takes to get a stop, but if you don't actually collect the rebound, you still haven't completed the stop. So if the Wolves do just completely sell out to try to get themselves offensive rebounds and correct the math that way, that would be somewhat concerning. But the Lakers are such a better 3-point shooting team. They take so many more of them now that Luka is there. And I just think they're so much better offensively than Minnesota. I truly don't know, given the way that Austin and LeBron and Luka were playing at the end of the season, and the way that they were kind of starting to click together. Yeah, I wish that we had a handful more of games or so to really get things clicking. But I don't know. I think we were starting to see that teaser trailer of what Luka and Austin and LeBron can finally look like. And I have a feeling that this is going to be the series that coming out party really takes place, and you see, oh my God, this is what that offense is capable of. And if they play even decently defensively, yeah, I don't like this matchup at all for Minnesota, and I love it for the Lakers the more that I kind of think about it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that quote went on longer. And there was a second part. Them doubling me. Definitely, it's like, bro, what is going on? I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know what to do, honestly, but it's not fun. I don't want to look like I'm not trying or not as good as I am, because I am, but I can't show it because I'm getting double teamed. It's definitely frustrating to see those guys cooking us and I can't cook them. So I think he's going to react really well to if Luka starts going off and, he is having to getting doubled every single time. I think lots of open threes are sort of in the offing.
What is it about American shooting guards and not Poor Devin Booker went viral for complaining about a double team at.
It's not honest basketball, Anthony. Come on. I want what you're sending a second. What if you and I are in a fight, you're going to send a second guy to back you up? You know.
Also, based on his off-court exploits, I don't think Anthony Edwards has that big of a problem with double teams. Like,
I'm just going to move on right past that. I think as far as what the Wolves do defensively, Rudy Gobert is obviously one of the best defenders of, like the last 10 years. He's won, like an absurd amount of Defensive Player of the Year trophies, frankly. But, with all due respect towards what he is, which is, I'll give him about the same amount of respect as Luka, which is very little. And just say that I think, again, Luka traditionally cooks him. And takes seemingly sheer, like, I don't know what Rudy Gobert did to Luka at some point in their lives, or if like Luka's just offended by the concept of Rudy Gobert. I don't know. But, but he takes that matchup personally and goes out there and really tries to embarrass him every single time that they play. And when you combine that with the way that JJ and this team have had a lot of success this year, I think like picking at opponent game plan defensive weaknesses and sort of saying like, okay, yeah, maybe you are really good at defense in these couple aspects, but we're going to find this one thing that you're bad at, and we're going to try and pick at that scab. It does feel like he's the type of defender that is not like, he's not going to get played off the floor in the playoffs because the Wolves, it's not like they're not going to go to Naz Reid over Rudy Gobert, down the stretch of games. But it is something that the Lakers, you'd think they're going to be able to find ways to exploit him.
Well, Gobert is a great defender of the rim. And what makes him so good defensively is that he just swallows up that entire area of the paint. But for the Lakers shooting so many threes, it really kind of minimizes the ways that Rudy Gobert can affect the game defensively.
Now, he's going to block a Vando layup? That wasn't going in anyway. It's fine. It's...
Now, what?
Oh no, he's going to take away Vando's cuts. Ah!
What does make me a little concerned offensively for the Lakers is, again, Minnesota can just switch so many actions and stuff. Between Nickeil Alexander-Walker, between McDaniels, it's Jaden, right? Or is it Jalen? Jaden, right? He was actually the guy. I'll always remember Jaden McDaniels. I hope it's actually Jaden McDaniels, but he's the one who in the old Locked On NBA.
No, that was KJ McDaniels. I don't think there's any relation.
No. That's the one I still believe in to this day.
Okay.
But but Jaden McDaniels, I selected him for the Lakers to take 18th in that draft. And I swear he'd be perfect for the Lakers. So like, it just shows that me not trying and looking at player archetypes and
many
just
are saying
a decision
better scout than the Bus brothers.
I'm one for one.
You can always remember it because there's the famous clip of Ant going, "Yeah, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels," and then he was right.
Yeah, well, no, McDaniels is an excellent defender.
Yeah.
Like they have
people laugh at it, and then that's exactly what happened during the playoffs. Was they destroyed KD's team while Ant talked shit to his idol the entire time.
The whole time. And then what happened next was Luka absolutely ravaged them.
2 rounds later.
Well, next dish. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, it was
Nuggets before that.
Yeah. Speaking of the Nuggets, they could be the Lakers' next round opponents. And yeah, I kind of want to talk about the expectations for these playoffs in general. We'll pull this bracket back up again. And so the Lakers sit in the 3 seed, and then you have the Nuggets and Clippers playing in the 4-5 series. So the Lakers, if they beat the Wolves, would play the winner of the Nuggets and Clippers. Who would you rather play there?
Bring me Jokic. I think the Nuggets are done. This is my most successful bit / prediction ever. I'm leaning all the way in. They're done. Stick a fork in them. Yeah, what? JJ's supposed to be scared of David Adelman?
I mean, to be fair, JJ has roughly 6 months more experience than David Adelman.
He was a pod. What successful podcast did David Adelman ever build up?
Not one.
Yeah, JJ built
Yeah.
up multiple. I'm just saying, like, this is a man who knows how to build things. NBA cultures, podcast listenerships, game plans. He's just constantly building.
I did laugh the other day at Nuggets Twitter being all kinds of excited for the first game that they played with Adelman as head coach. And like it took all of one game for them to be like, oh shoot, that's right. This team still can't defend. And yeah, like I don't know. We'll see how that series goes between the Clippers and the Nuggets. That's a phenomenal matchup. And I truly don't know who's going to win that series. But I think I'm with you. I think I'd rather play the Nuggets than the Clippers. We just saw the Clippers make, now Steph, I think, scored about 30 points. But the Clippers just beat the Warriors in essentially a must-win game for the Warriors at home. And they look really bleeping good
Anthony,
doing
I think
it.
people are saying you read the bracket wrong.
Did I? No, I didn't.
Because the Lakers are 3-6, so they would get.
So they played the two. Yeah. They played the winner of the. Oh, you're right. Well, then everything I said was wrong.
That's okay. I just went with it and should have been more on top of you. So
all right. So no. All right. So even better. Then they played.
Yeah, they're cowards. They went all the way to the other side of the bracket, and they fired their coach to make sure that they would not have to face the Lakers until the conference finals. They basically did what I advocated for the Lakers to do last year.
Yeah. So they would play the 2 seed then. They would play the Rockets, which also not a team that I'm all that terrified by. They're really young. Also, I'm not positive that it would be the Rockets. I could see the Warriors beating the Rockets in a series.
So could not see the Grizzlies doing it. Gonna be real with you. I
cannot see the Grizzlies will. Yeah, the Grizzlies are gonna play the.
Oh, you know what, though? I hope we get that matchup just for the Dylan Brooks revenge tour in Memphis.
Ooh. Or
what if Dylan Brooks costs his team a playoff series against Memphis? Does Zach Kleiman get a lifetime extension at that point? They're like, no, yeah, we got to let this guy knows personnel. Like,
yeah. Memphis. I think Memphis loses to Golden State in that first game, unfortunately. And then it's Memphis against OKC.
Yeah.
Huh?
Seems pretty likely, yeah.
Yeah, and then but all right, so if it's all right, ignore everything that we said a second ago. But would you rather play who would you rather play, the Rockets or the Warriors? Taking for granted that the Warriors, I think, are going to beat Memphis.
Yeah, I think I would still rather play the Rockets because I just do not trust that their offense is one that can get enough buckets in the playoffs. I understand their defense is good. I think that a lot of their success this year, at least in my view, is that they are younger. And I know this is a cliche, they're younger, but they play harder than everyone else. Playing harder than everyone else is not an advantage in the playoffs. Everyone's playing hard. Yeah. And I think that, we saw the other night against the Lakers, sort of the potential pitfalls for the Rockets in that matchup are like, who is getting baskets for them at the end of a close game against the Lakers? Like, is it Jalen Green? Is it Fred VanVleet? Is it Alperen Şengün?
Yeah, and they don't really scare me in the pick and roll either.
Yeah.
So I think I'm with you.
Now
I'd
they
rather
would
play
they would
Houston.
scare me on the glass. They're genuine advantages they would have. That double bigs lineup on the glass against the Lakers could theoretically be something where it's like, we have first take segments the next day, and it's like, should the Lakers have completed the Mark Williams trade after they get it's like they give up 40 offensive rebounds to the Rockets?
Do you think Stephen A. Smith knows who Mark Williams is?
Well, yes, because he was almost a Laker, but before that, probably not.
I think he's already forgotten who he is.
No, but producer would remind him. They're like, the big guy. The Lakers, they didn't want to get the big guy. They tried to stay small. And he's like, oh, that JJ, he doesn't have respect for big men.
True. That's true. I'm all right. Here's the number one reason to be concerned for the Lakers in the playoffs. Apparently, our smugness.
It does. I'm going to be honest. That is something that I'm concerned about. I do think that usually when you and I are this confident, something ends up going really wrong for us. So it is entirely possible that we are costing the Lakers a playoff round right now with how we're talking about the Wolves.
I have a terrible track record at optimism with the Lakers.
Oh, God,
every time.
That's right.
Every time I feel pretty
Luka's
good about
the Lakers. Retire in between the end of the regular. He's like, just now that I'm not in a Mavs jersey, it just doesn't hit the same. I'm good. I'm hanging him up.
Yeah. I need to find ways to be less confident in the Lakers. They do have a lot riding on Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui Hachimura, and Gabe Vincent knocking down open jumpers. That's going to decide a lot.
All three of those guys have a track record of hitting shots in the playoffs, though.
It's true, Harrison. We are looking for reasons for me to not.
No. We're looking for reasons for you to be pessimistic. I get to be the hero to Lakers fans and continue to be optimistic. Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing good pod, bad pod.
All right. Austin might get picked on by Anthony Edwards to an extent that makes us a little uncomfortable.
I have no counter argument to that. They're gonna send a double. I think it'll be fine. They're gonna try and get the ball out of his hands. Anthony Edwards is gonna say things to Austin Reeves that would have been cut from his monologue in Hustle.
Oh man, yeah. Let's see, other reasons to be nervous. Jackson Hayes is still the starting center.
I forgot about that. I'm not going to lie to you. I did the entire first 46 minutes of this show not thinking about Jackson Hayes once, and I'm mad that you took that away from me. I was riding high off the Raj Death lineup article at Silver Screen and Roll today. And how they played the most fourth quarter minutes with the DFS Rui LeBron front court tandem, and I was just feeling good. And then you just reminded me, you're like, oh yeah, Jackson Hayes exists, and it's like, well, shit.
Yeah. I think that's what they say in the NBA offices too. When anybody asks about the investigation that's going on,
how's that investigation? They're like, shit, that's still going on. Yes, we are working on it.
Yeah.
It's like
TMZ. Do you have anything new? Let's see. Well, all right. What I will say though on that front is that I do think eventually at some point in the playoffs, JJ will just start Dorian Finney-Smith instead of Jackson.
That does
Hayes.
Feel like something that he's been trying to build towards, and is that's going to be his benching Bogut in the finals for Iguodala lever.
Yeah, I
don't think he does that in the first round. If he has to pull that lever in the first round, I think something's gone wrong.
I guess unless he wants
asking Dorian Finney-Smith to be full-time center for 4 rounds of the playoffs, and because whenever you pull that lever, you're probably going to lose Jackson. He does not seem, based on his interactions with the refs, to be the most mentally resilient player in the world. And I'm not sure. And, clearly the reason they've been starting him, despite everybody knowing that that's not their best lineup, is because JJ thinks that it keeps him engaged.
Yeah. I don't know. If you basically go to him and say, hey, Jackson, you basically get to exist as the centerpiece of the offense with the second unit by running pick and rolls with Luka. I don't think that would be the worst path forward.
Hey, Jackson, going into free agency, we're going to have our big move to swing the tide of the playoffs be benching you. So you can't even call yourself a starting center on the minimum anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. His market still, I don't think, is very good though.
Probably. It can't be. Like, what idiotic like, unless you have a clone of Luca, like
The
what's
Mavs, they apparently want all of the all of the centers. So
yes, AD is going to be like, I really miss those lineups with me and Jackson. He really took the dirty work off my plate.
let's see. Any other concerns here? Let's see. They're pretty thin. Lakers are pretty thin.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a concern the whole playoffs. And also, the obligatory LeBron's 40. We don't, again, the fuckery is going to end at some point. There's going to be a point in our lives where the fuckery is no longer going on. And I don't think, he's looking pretty good lately, but you never know. And he is 40. So like, I mean, we can mention that, but I don't see how that, like, we can't factor that into our series preview because it's like, or your predictions, because it's like, if that happens, they're kind of dead in the water anyway, and you have no way to predict when it's going to happen. And like, we did see him get hurt in the most recent game a little bit, but it seemed like he was fine from that, and it was just sort of like a minor ding.
My tinfoil
and the counterpoint, he gets a week off before playing his next game, but more than a week off because he sat out today. And then he also, gets this is going to be the most rested round as we've seen the last couple of years. This is the most rested LeBron gets to beat between games during the playoffs.
That's for sure. That's something I'm actually looking forward to. There was a funny clip of LeBron.
Which actually maybe speaks to your point of they go to the centerless lineups, if not as the starters, then even more often, because it's like, hey, LeBron, we need you to box out Rudy Gobert on every single possession this game, but you have 2 days off until we have to play again.
Yeah. Well, even more, I think, because the first round tends to take longer than
2 or 3. Yeah.
Later rounds.
It's usually at least 2.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, like I said, I think everything lends itself to the Lakers handling their business. And the other thing too is LeBron understanding the moment tends to go out and win series in that like when he has the chance to. And now that he knows that, all right, if I win this one in 5, Houston Golden State is going to be a knockdown drag out. That might go 7. So if we could win this thing in 5 and give myself an extra week or so of rest there too.
We get LeBron versus Dillon Brooks in the playoffs again.
Yeah, I like that. I like that matchup against Houston too. And then it's like,
I like it a lot more now, realizing that Dillon Brooks is going to be like, it's my time to get revenge. And even our lifetime series 1-1.
Based on
against my mortal rival LeBron James.
Based on what little I've seen from Rockets Twitter, it does seem that their fan base is a little nervous about Dillon Brooks saying, like, calling his number. It's
Who wouldn't be?
It's Dillon Brooks time.
He somehow ended up in the same situation as Memphis, but with an even less clear alpha that can wave him off. Like, at least on Memphis, it's like, okay, you have like Ja and Bane and like even to some degree JJJ just through like Dillon Brooks definitely thought he was a better offensive player than JJJ. But like with Ja and Bane, he could at least be like, okay, those guys are great shooters, like, or scorers, whatever in Ja's case. I gotta let them cook. I'll eat on the weak side. Whereas on this team, he's like, this is my team.
Yeah. It's fair. I'd like.
It's like I got to show LeBron that Ja was holding me back that last time.
So then, like based on everything that we've talked about, like with the season and the way that it's gone and everything that's taken place to get to this point here, what would you say are your baseline expectations for the playoffs? Like if
I think
this
not making the conference finals would be a disappointment at this point.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a high bar.
Don't you feel the same way? I mean,
not making the.
I mean, I wouldn't want to play the Warriors, but I don't think that the Lakers couldn't beat the Warriors.
Yeah,
they could beat them, and so it's by definition disappointing if they don't.
Yeah,
and I know that we're just walking over the Wolves here for the last 10 to 15 minutes, which is going to make that Wolves fan in the comments mad again. Sorry, projected comment guy.
Yeah, I mean, look. We saw how it went for the Wolves in Game of Thrones overall, and it didn't I think it'll go very similarly here for the Lakers. Like Sansa's wolf exit stage left really quickly.
They're running out of CGI for the Wolves by game 3.
Yeah.
They're like, we don't.
Yeah.
They literally said we don't have the budget for all these Wolves and traded Cat.
I think I saw that they were like they were like
they really are the HBO.
That was a great line. But I think that HBO, like I think Game of Thrones literally said it costs more money to put together a CGI dog than a CGI dragon because people know what dogs look like better than dragons.
That's actually an interesting point.
Yeah.
And think about how much money it costs to put together a second apron luxury tax cat in that case. That's what they were avoiding.
Man, it's like I remember like as that trade went down, I'm thinking you could have done this after this season. There's no reason you couldn't have done this at the deadline after
Glenn
the
Taylor
season.
just heard about the bill and he's like, get out of this right now.
Yeah.
There's no.
Well, then what's also funny though was that the reports after A-Rod was potentially going to take over was that ownership group was also nervous about the tax bills that were incoming too. So they might have also traded Cat too.
You and I have talked about this. It's the second apron penalties. The owners built them in themselves in a you can't make fun of me for not being as rich as Steve Ballmer anymore like rule.
Speaking of losing players, I just realized the Warriors DNP CD Jonathan Kuminga.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Whoa. That's wild.
He's at this rate, he's definitely going to leak to Shams again that he's lost faith in Steve Kerr, I think.
Yeah.
We're going to get that report a second time.
Again, just keep on getting it over and over and over again.
And then they're going to re-sign him and he's going to do it again next year. They're just like, he's just trapped in Golden State forever.
The only person in that organization who likes him is Joe Lacob. Which turns out is really funny. Yeah, really important. Like really, that's the guy that you want. But yeah, that's crazy.
Hey, look, Rob Pelinka has showed us you just need one ally if it's the right one, and and then he ended up redeeming himself. But
man, so
there weren't a whole lot of people going let Rob cook, and then but he had the owners back.
I have a feeling these playoffs.
So if Jonathan Kuminga can just trade for Luka, then I think Warriors fans are going to go back to loving him again.
So I'm looking at all of the bracket and now knowing how to read.
I mean, they put them right next to each other. It's confusing. I'm not gonna. You and I are not math people. We're not used to not being in the play-in.
Yeah.
It's just we were set up to fail.
You know what? It honestly
I'm blaming
is.
Adam Silver on that one. We were set up.
No. You know what? It honestly. It's because of I got used to the play-in where it's like the 9-10 plays as the 9 plays the 10 and the 7 plays the 8, and I figured that the 3 plays the 4 in this case and whatever. But no, the Lakers don't have to worry. They never had to worry about the play-in at any point this season. That's kind of crazy. Like that,
I was a little worried about it when they were losing a couple games, when they were still within range where they could have dropped back to it.
But they never dropped down to it.
Yeah, they never were in range, but
yeah. But I think that really kind of is kind of a testament to the giant step forward that they took this season.
In terms
was
of
that
coaching,
at no point
all of it.
Yeah, like at no point, given everything that went on, the various iterations of the team, the struggles and the injuries at various points during those iterations of the team, at no point this season were the Lakers in that range. That's absolutely insane. Given that the play-in, they basically made Adam Silver look like a genius by playing in the play-in every year. Yeah. And now, do you think Adam Silver's pissed at the Lakers for hiring JJ Redick?
No, I think he's going to be happy to get 7 guaranteed games of the Lakers, or I mean, I'm not 7, but several guaranteed games of the Lakers, depending on how long the series goes.
Yeah. It's been a hell of a season, and
he's going to see that LeBron with home court revenue.
That's Genie.
Well, I mean, the NBA
Genius.
gets some of that probably.
I know, but I'm saying genius is like, oh my god, we have home court.
Yeah.
The Luka era already paying those dividends.
She's like, all right, actually, Rob, you could cut Alex Lynn. We ran the calculations. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you're good now. Man, your baseline is.
I know it's crazy
given
how the year started and everything like that, but it's like, you look at what they would have to do to get there. I would be disappointed in this team if they did not at least make the conference finals. I feel like that would be punching below their potential. I'm not going to sit here and say, again, it's always title or bust. It's title or bust for every team, and especially the Lakers. No one's going to be happy if they don't win the title and be like, oh yeah, that was a fun conference finals run.
Right.
But, so obviously you're always going to be disappointed in those cases. But I'm saying in terms of meaningful expectations where like, I'm going to say they really let one go and they didn't get beat by a better team. If they don't make the conference finals, like, I think that's a disappointment given where they're at. Barring the obvious caveats of injuries and that sort of thing. Like if some major player gets hurt in the first game of the first round, then the expectations change. But provided that this is the roster and these are the guys that's playing, then I think anything short of conference finals is a disappointment.
Jesus,
they're the 3 seed. Where should the expectations be?
No, that's the point that I was about to make. Was I think that's the right approach. I think
they're
that
3 seed. They have Luka and LeBron. People are going to be arguing whether they have the 2 best players in the series in every round that they play.
Yeah. Well, should we do that exercise with the Wolves?
I mean, they definitely have the 2 best players. Well, I mean, I guess it depends. Yeah, okay. So I get what you're saying. Do they have like 2 of the? Do you get 2 Lakers before you get like? Do you get 2 Lakers before you get 2 of the other team? Then the Lakers are going to win that almost every round.
Yeah, because I think Luka is better than Ant, but I think Ant is probably.
I think playoff LeBron might be better than Ant still.
A playoff LeBron who gets to take plays off.
Yeah, playoff LeCenter, playoff LeDraymond,
like a playoff LeBron who gets to who just
do you
gets
think
to
Draymond
watch
is
Luka and Austin.
The Warriors are trying to they're all in the locker room trying to be like, okay, guys, we're gonna get back to it, and they're like, wait, who's talking in the showers? And it's Draymond. He's calling LeBron. He's like, all right, so top 3 karate moves to use on Rudy. I'm just gonna.
Man, all right, so. All right, even if you want to say 2A, 2B there between LeBron and Ant, Austin is clearly.
I wouldn't think anybody who making the argument for Ant has also been a playoff riser, and so I would not laugh at anyone making.
No,
I just
don't
would argue that
I think it's 2A, 2B.
And given what we've seen, I would argue LeBron.
And then I would say Austin above Gobert.
Oh, I thought you were say above Ant. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little spicy for me now.
No. I would. But considering
in the playoffs, I would agree.
3 of the top 4 players are Lakers. That's pretty telling. And then it's Gobert, and then I think it's Rui.
It's probably still McDaniels. I know he's had a down year.
I don't know. Rui's been pretty damn
Rui's
good.
More important to the Lakers, but I don't know that he's a better player.
I don't know. McDaniels hasn't been as good as the Wolves were hoping.
Oh, you forgot DFS too. Is also above Ant. Plus minus God.
That's true. Yeah, in terms of impact. But okay, but I think at the most reasonable we can say Rui and McDaniels and DFS are all in that group together. And then you're looking at the Nickeil Alexander Walkers and the Gabe Vincents, and I think Mike Conley's below Gabe. So yeah, I think the Lakers match up really, really well against Minnesota. Dante belongs in that. Yeah. In that tier with Rui and McDaniels and
yeah.
So those guys.
It's really good lately.
Yeah. And well, he also is really important because he provides you that, like, they will almost always have 3 defenders on the court who don't look completely useless in isolation against LeBron, Luka, and Austin. And that's the number one thing that I think I'm most nervous about in this series is the fact that if you run some kind of a pick and roll, Minnesota's just gonna be like, okay, now Ant is on Luka. Or okay, now Dante is on Austin, or Ant is on Austin. Now, I do kind of wonder. I think one thing the Lakers are really going to rely on is going to be the physicality element of Luka and LeBron's games,
Yeah.
where both of those guys can back down Ant, both those guys can back down Dante, both those guys can back down McDaniels. They don't really have. It's kind of a version of what you see with OKC, where they have the kinds of players who have the foot speed so that those guys can't quite turn the corner, but those guys can just go through that kind of defender's chest and really create problems that way. So it's
And that
going to
wears
be a
you
chess
out
match
over the
Yeah,
course of the series too.
yeah. It won. Now Finch is a genius when it comes to
He
offensive
does seem to be a
strategy.
very good coach. Yeah.
So we'll see how he fares against JJ in that matchup. But I'm with you. I can't believe I'm saying this, Harrison, but I would also be disappointed if the Lakers didn't make it to the conference finals. And then depending on who's waiting for them there, like the path is pretty open. Not open, but the path is visible to get to the finals. And that's all we could have possibly asked for. Like that's kind of how I wanted to wrap all this up, is that if you would have told me at the beginning of the season and at various points during the season that eventually you and I would be having a conversation and saying we would be disappointed that the Lakers don't make it to the conference finals, I would have called you absolutely insane. And that's the sign of, I think, a really fun season, is that like expectations at various points were such that no way that we would find ourselves sitting where we do right now. And that's pretty cool. I think like that's something that you got to stop and smell the roses about en route to, all right, now take care of business now that you have that opportunity.
I love the new tradition that the Lakers have where Rob Pelinka every other year makes a roster overhauling series of trades at the deadline, and they just go to the conference finals and become like an NBA finals possibility. I think it's great. I think in 2 years when Jokic asks out and they get him at midseason, like that's going to be amazing. Him, Luka, you have LeBron on the like the mini mid level at that point, just sort of riding it out with Bronny.
So when you say bring me Jokic,
Max,
is that a double entendre?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be a Laker. I think
Yeah.
we've seen this now enough times. We know what's about to happen.
All right. Well, this has been a really fun episode, and this has been a really fun season covering this Lakers team with you, the audience, with you, Harrison, and your appearances on the show. Thank you everybody for all of the support over the course of the season. We have some we've had a extremely successful season in our own right, and it's only looking up as we get into the playoffs and beyond the season. So none of this would be possible without all of your support, and I am greatly appreciative of it, and look forward to continuing to screw up things like who the Lakers play in the second round.
How playoff brackets work.
Excuse me,
you
not
think we
embarrassing.
Get JT Orr on game
all.
1?
What's that?
You think we get JT Orr on game 1?
Oh my God. Oh. So I guess he's been a referee for like 30 something years and has only refereed.
It's 15 and it's 1. Pete had the stat on LFR pod. Yeah.
What's that?
Pete had the stat on LFR pod. He's like a referee. He was so mad. He's a referee so good that in his 15-year NBA career, the NBA has trusted him to officiate one playoff game.
I thought it was longer. I thought I saw the stat being longer. Maybe it's like lifetime. He's been a referee for not an NBA referee.
Fair to count Boys and Girls Club. You know, it's like he was out there reffing games in high school gyms, and they're like, yeah, you didn't get called up to ref an NBA playoff game. We're putting that on the counter.
Yeah. He's like, it would be so NBA to have him assigned to the Lakers in that first game to make sure that game goes, or that series goes 6. That would be perfect. Oh God. Now I'm pissed. Now I was ready to exit.
Based on track record, I don't think he's going to get very many playoff games, so I think we're probably good. But
I think we should be okay, and especially after that moment where,
that feels like we're not going to admit that there's a problem, but we're maybe gonna. It's like the Scott Foster CP3 thing, where like we're gonna try and not have these two guys interact too much.
Yeah, yeah. From my time there in Dallas and talking to people, because it was like the day after that game, right? In talking to people there, so Vando went on the record and said that it felt personal, and it was only louder off of the record is how I'll phrase it. They were pissed. They were livid at how Orr handled that situation. All right.
I mean, I think it's going to be fine. I don't see Luka getting into conflicts like that with fans or opposing players that could be misconstrued. So I don't see any way that happens again in the playoffs. Never mind. Right. Lakers in 6 because Luka's going to get thrown out of one game.
Just one of them. I think it's Lakers in 5. I think you're right.
I think so too.
I wonder what the betting odds are, specifically Lakers in 5. I think that's a good bet to make. All right, that is going to do it though.
Less good about it, but
what's that?
Now I feel less good about it. You agree?
I think I agree.
Yeah.
All right. My homework until the next time you guys hear from me is to find reasons to not believe in this Lakers team. So maybe I'll all right.
There's nothing you're better at.
I'm gonna watch The Last of Us tonight, the season premiere of season 2, The Last of Us, and feel really, really bad about humanity. And then I'll record the episode being as pessimistic as I can be, so that I don't. Because look, every single time I have felt good about the team, I talked to Pete, and the things went really, really poorly after Pete and I talked about them being a championship contender. And then I talked to Jovan, and Jovan and I, two people who the fan base thinks are the most pessimistic people covering this team, couldn't find anything to complain about.
They think post-Luka Jovan is pessimistic?
What's that?
They think post-Luka Jovan is pessimistic?
No. We recorded after they traded for Luka. Yeah. And things were going really well.
Like Russell Westbrook Jovan was pessimistic, but he was correct.
No. He likes this team now. Yeah, but he and I recorded an episode where he and I were both optimistic, and immediately half the team got hurt. LeBron got hurt. Rui got hurt. I think somebody else got hurt. And then they lost like, what was it, 5 of 7 or something stupid. And so, yeah, I got to find a way to be pessimistic about this team. Maybe I'm just not taking the Wolves seriously enough. That's what I'll do.
We probably are disrespecting the Wolves a little bit.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and study real hard about the Wolves, i.e. DM John Krasinski and ask him how good are the Wolves. And maybe then I'll feel less good about the Lakers' chances at winning this series in 5.
Or you could just go watch like nature videos of wolves and just be like, man, I don't know if I like Luka's chances of getting away from that. Like, that's going to be tough.
What was the Liam Neeson movie? Do you ever see that one?
Oh, no, I know what you're talking about, but I didn't see it.
One of the darkest movies I have ever seen. It's unbelievably dark movie. Yeah, crazy. All right, yeah, that's going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge and this regular season's episodes taken. No, not taken. No, it was the one he got in a plane crash and they were in the forest and wolves were hunting the people who survived the plane crash.
No, yeah, I remember the previews. I just didn't see it.
Yeah, it wasn't Taken. Ray is saying Taken,
but
it was
knockoff Taken. It was like they're like, we're gonna have Liam Neeson just do Taken in every movie, you know.
Right. Liam Neeson Wolves movie. The Gray.
There you go.
The Gray. All right. Yeah. Thank you everybody for tuning in though. Thank you for all the support. Harrison, thank you for hopping on. Anything that you want to plug before we get you out of here?
No, just, I'd say, we're going to be having a lot of fun throughout the postseason. So join us for the play-in stream. Oh, wait, we don't have to do that this year.
Yeah. Well, also, I won't talk to you for a couple of weeks because
you won't talk to me for a couple of weeks. I'm taking a break from the podcast.
Yeah.
It's not important where.
All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you a little bit later when I record the lowdown.